Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Unfair Advantage series, where we explore strategies, insights, and methodologies to give you an unfair advantage. My name is Mona Hilton. I'm the CEO of Advantage Anywhere, and I'm honored to welcome you here today. Now, if you missed the last episode of Unfair Advantage called Unstuck Your Prospects with Peggy Sgaglio, or maybe you saw it and want to see it again or want to share with your colleagues, you can visit our YouTube channel or our website at www.advantageanywhere.com and check it out. It was excellent and rich with content. So make sure you take advantage, no pun intended, of Peggy's wisdom. Well, speaking of rich, I am so excited for you to hear today's guest, Richard Sgaglio. He's going to dig into the topic of click to connect using digital marketing to get customers. Now, Richard is the Vice President of Marketing and Development for the Osborne in Rye, New York. Now, as you know, New York has been the epicenter of the recent crisis, and everyone has been watching carefully to see how they respond. And I promise you, Richard will not let you down. He has innovated, he's experimented, and he's made adjustments as necessary to market smartly in this new normal. So as you can see from reading his bio, Richard has very impressive credentials academically, but he also has the practical, real-world business experience that sets him up to be the expert at digital marketing, as you're about to hear. Now, on a personal note, Richard has always impressed me with the way he thinks outside the box. He's very bold as he explores new marketing frontiers like digital and video and 3D tours. So don't let his laid-back style fool you. Richard is very proactive and very forward-thinking. You, I promise, are going to love today's episode. Now, as we discuss digital marketing for lead gen, you may have some additional questions that come up. If you do, please put them in the question section in the Q&A, and we'll make sure and leave time at the end for any questions that you have. Now, you may have heard me say this before, and I promise you'll hear me say it again, that there's an old saying that success leaves clue. Now, regardless of what industry you're in, we can all learn from the experience and strategies that are being used in other industries. Now, I know there are people who are registered for today's session from all different industries. There's senior housing, there's residential communities, there's healthcare, there's software, there's even, I believe, a marketing company or two. But today, as we talk in generalities, keep in mind that these strategies, these principles apply to all industries. So Richard, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Mona. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. I am so glad you're here. And, I thought about how generously you're going to be sharing your knowledge and what you've learned through your experience with the audience. And I just want you to know that we really appreciate you being so transparent with your information.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So let's start at the beginning. I mean, digital marketing is kind of a black hole, and I think a lot of people trigger PTSD when you say the words digital marketing because it's so big, it's so scary, there's so much to it. Can you kind of give us a little starter on what is digital marketing?
Yeah, sure, Mona. I think you're right. I think people hear the term digital marketing and it's a frightening kind of term because people don't know exactly what it is. And there's very, very many kinds of components within it. But I mean, I think the easiest way to understand it is, if you think about any paid advertising that is on the internet. So these are often ads that people create that can be served to potential customers through their devices that they use to access the internet. So it could be on, desktop, tablets, smartphones. And they can also include targeted ads on social media, let's see, websites, video platforms, email marketing, text ads, and other new and emerging technologies. So I think it's a very broad subject, but I think it's something where people can certainly start by getting their feet wet by doing, just one or two of those things until they are more comfortable with it.
Right. And as you were talking, Richard, I kind of shared some of the digital marketing that you guys are doing at the Osborne through your website and through social media, so that people can get a kind of a taste of what you're doing already.
Great.
Now, one thing I think it's important to ask is, can you talk to us a little bit about the difference between conversion and leads? I think there's confusion in those two terms.
Sure. I think there's a lot of confusion in a lot of terms that we use in digital marketing because, it's sort of semantics. I think sometimes we say one thing and we mean another. But just a very basic way of kind of looking at the difference between a conversion and a lead. Conversion is really when you get someone to click or to download or to call. That's the act of doing what you wanted them to do through your advertisement digitally. A lead is something that really has to be qualified in some way. So typically, a conversion will turn into a lead when we, at that next level, they are the right demographic, they have the right income, they're the right education, they're in the right area, those kinds of things. So sometimes when we work on digital, certainly from the beginning, we hear a lot about, how many impressions you're getting, and that means how many times your ad is being, shown, how many people are seeing it. But then we've got to go to that next level. Like, what does that mean? Where the money, the rubber meets the road. How does that impression that is sent out there that somebody sees your ad turn into a customer? I mean, that's really what we're all about right now. And that's a whole process that, you have to kind of look at and determine what your goals are right from the beginning before you spend a lot of money in digital marketing.
No, I think that's really good that you pointed that out, because I think a lot of people think conversion equals leads. And just because they click or call, like you said, doesn't mean, and you use the keyword qualified lead, doesn't mean they're qualified. Right. It just means it's a click or a call. It's a follow the money. If there's not any money there, then it's not likely a good lead.
Yeah, it's a precursor. It's, ideally, we talk about, especially in marketing today, and digital has a leg up on, return on investment, because digital marketing really has a way of kind of, providing you with more analytics than a lot of other types of marketing. So when we look at that, we want to kind of sort of demonstrate how our money is being, utilized. And so before you start your program, you have to know what, conversion is easy to kind of track. Did somebody click or not? But how does that person become a qualified lead? And then what do we do with them once we have them?
Yeah, that's really good. So you mentioned once we start, I want to kind of start there. Yeah. If someone is starting a new digital marketing strategy, what should be like their goal, or how do you measure success if they're just getting started?
Yeah, I think every business is different. I think, again, from what I mentioned earlier, if you're going to jump into a digital marketing campaign, you're going to start something for the first time, you really need to have some predetermined, measures of success, because, you don't want to just kind of do it out there and then determine later on it was successful or not. It's like any other program. You need to have some key performance indicators to determine how well, it's working. So, if you have, there are different kinds of campaigns. Sometimes it's a campaign that is just about awareness. It's just an overall awareness. We want people to understand, we're a player in this industry. We want, somebody to have, more information about us in a certain geography. There's a lot of variables, but you have to determine what is most important to you as you begin to look at creating a digital campaign. Otherwise, you're going to be playing catch up.
So would you say that the two major goals would be awareness and lead generation? I don't want to read too much between the lines.
I do. I think there are various reasons for various types of campaigns. And I think certainly overall awareness is one of them. search campaigns are very important. Certainly in my area, we work in senior housing because people go online to determine, what they, when they want to find something, obviously. And so we want to make sure that we capitalize on that. So there's a variety of different kinds of programs that are available through digital marketing. You kind of have to know what your goal is first, so you can sort of design the program around that, not the other way around.
Right. Don't want to get things backwards.
Right.
So most people, whenever we talk about digital marketing, one of the first questions is money. Everyone wants to know about the money. So for budgeting purposes, what percentage would you say of the budget should marketers spend on digital versus more traditional marketing like print and radio and that kind of thing?
So it's a good question, and it's a question that I get asked all the time, with colleagues and also internally here by my own administration. I think the answer, there's not a hard and fast rule. I think, you have to look at what kind of geography you're in, what kind of industry you're in, what are other people doing, what are your competitors doing? You really kind of have to get a sense of, how often people are coming to your website. Is that the primary way of reaching you? There's a lot of variables that go into the decision making. However, I can tell you for the many years I've been in marketing, I started in marketing before there was a digital marketing, and everything was traditional. But as we continue in this sort of new normal, each year I spend more and more money in digital marketing because we know that people are going online to get their information. I know that if I'm not there, my competitor will be. I know the geography where my prospects are coming from, and we want to be there. There's a variety of things that you learn as you go in digital marketing, and those can actually help you kind of determine how much you want to spend. But I think for me personally, I think about 40 to 50% of my overall marketing budget is now being spent digitally, as opposed to traditional media, radio, print, television.
Yeah, that's really good. So you said 40 to 50%.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. I think you and I talked about this a while back about the statistics on I think it's 87, 90% hovering around that area of people go online to do the research and to look for solutions before they actually contact you. So that's 40 to 50% is very reasonable. Considering everybody's online, you go into any office and everybody's looking at their phone.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So where do people get started then? What would you say is the best or most effective entree into the digital marketing? Maybe people who want to get their feet wet, but they only use traditional marketing up until now. Right. Where would you recommend that people get started?
Well, I think the most obvious place is to start with digital search, whether it be through Google or Bing, where you create a campaign based on certain criteria that you are, looking to gain prospective customers for. So whether it be, so at the Osborne here in Rye, we have independent living, we have assisted living, we have skilled nursing, we have outpatient rehab, we have home care. And we create new search campaigns for each one of them. They're not part of, one big campaign. We do it individually because we want to make sure that our search terms are working. And we have a lot more freedom and flexibility when we kind of break them out by business line. So even if you want to start, for example, I've talked to colleagues who said, we're having a really difficult time, in senior living, selling like our 1-bedroom units. Everyone wants larger. So maybe you start out with a special search campaign for people who are looking for, smaller 1-bedroom units. Maybe you have some specific incentives that go with that. A small campaign, like I would say a test campaign, would be the best way to go. You don't want to put a lot of money of your resources into a campaign that hasn't been tested. So there's a whole process that you would go through, whether you're working, with a Google ad partner or an agency, or if you've got a digital person that you're, hiring to, bring in to be part of your team. You really want to do your plan and then also kind of test it to see if it's effective before you throw a lot of money at it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. You mentioned something, I'm hoping everybody caught it. You said to and I'm going to paraphrase, but
Yeah.
you do my words, but you said to segment your marketing by care line, business line, product line, whatever that is. I think that's incredibly wise, because I think people take a small amount of money and spread it out too thin and then wonder why they're not getting the results.
Right.
And this is a case where niches make riches, kind of that concept where you target a very specific product line. I hope people caught that. That was really good. So in testing your campaigns, how do you start as far as budget is concerned? What do you have any recommendations on that?
Well, it certainly depends on what the product is. So for example, prior to starting a campaign, you're going to do some research on, what geography is it? So we're in the New York City metropolitan area. We're in a very competitive market in virtually all areas of business, but in senior living for sure. We look at what bids cost. We look at, how much, on Google someone is, paying for a bid for, let's say, stroke rehab or independent living or any of the things that we're interested in promoting. Until you have an idea of how much things cost, you don't know how much to spend. So really, again, I think the majority of the time that you are going to be working on a digital campaign is the setup, and it's the planning. And then once you are there, then you can kind of, start to see some results, which don't happen overnight. The average campaign may take, 2 to 3 months to optimize. And that's for a variety of different reasons, including the way search engines look at content and some other things. But you need to kind of put out there that it's going to be a 3-month test test program to see if it's going to work. And then you can make a decision as to whether you want to continue it, change it, or discontinue it.
Yeah, you were talking to me about that the other day too, about how you monitor it so carefully, and then you just make adjustments. Also, it's not one of those things where you just put it out there and you just forget about it.
That's correct. We look at our calls and our downloads, all of our conversions. We look at on a weekly basis. I do a weekly report, and then we do a monthly report, because we're also doing, besides search engine, we're doing other things like social media advertising and native display ads and a lot of different things, which are a little bit more complicated. Not that much, but for beginners, get your feet wet with a small search campaign in your geography and in your field. It's the best way to kind of get the ball rolling.
Oh, that's really good. So you mentioned a couple of things I want to dig into a little bit. You talked about search engine, you talked about optimization. I think there another set of keys, if you will, that people confuse, and that's SEO and SEM.
Okay.
You mind explaining that to us for a little bit?
No, that's fine. So there's two things. SEO is search engine optimization. And that really is your program that you put in place to help with your organic traffic. So typically our organic traffic comes to our face in the world, and that's our website. So what we do is we work to organically optimize the content that we have on our website so that we get more traffic and more, let's say, conversions from both Google and Bing based on, the topic that we're talking about. Search engine marketing are those terms and those programs that we do that we pay for. So one is, your organic, and one is your paid. And I think one of the things that I've heard from a variety of different people over the years is people think that, you can have a really good website, or you can have a really good search engine marketing, campaign, but you don't need the other. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. In order for your digital marketing to work, you really have to have a 1-2 punch. So if you're putting dollars into a search engine marketing and you're getting people to your website and there's no real content there for them to kind of to educate them on what you do and sort of win them as a customer, guess what? They click away and they go somewhere else. The same thing is if you have the greatest website in the world, it's rich with content and nobody can find it. Well, guess what? That doesn't work either. So it really has to be this sort of like hand in glove approach where you have an optimized search engine marketing and search engine optimization program. In fact, some of our ads that we use in search engine marketing use the same terminology, the same wording that we have on our website, because what it does, it helps with the paradigms that Google and Bing and others determine is relevant content for that person making the inquiry.
So would I be accurate in kind of surmising that SEO is more like content, organic, not paid from the standpoint of you pay per click, but you are paying because you're putting effort into it. You're building content, you're doing all that. And SEO, SEM is more of the pay per clicks. Is that how you would?
That's exactly right. SEM, the other kind of terminology that people use, as I said before, there's a lot of terminology that people use, they use it, interchangeably. A lot of times people will refer to SEM as a PPC, pay per click program. And again, so one would be the organic, that's your content, your website, and the SEM is your paid ads.
Right. And I like how you said you really need them both. You can't have, a peanut butter without jelly. They go together. Right. They complement each other.
Right. It won't be as effective if you have, a very strong port, one of them and not the other. They have to work together in order for your campaign to be optimized.
Yeah, very true. Let's talk about money one more time. I want to kind of ask you a little bit about the budget process. So where should people be spending their money digitally? Should it be search-based? How much should go to other budget or other buckets?
Well, I think that, again, I think early on, if somebody, we kind of talked about this webinars for people who are just kind of getting their feet wet in digital. Maybe some of them haven't done it at all. And I'd hate to give them a big number and say, this is what we should be spending. Again, test out small numbers, take a percentage of your budget and create a very small search campaign first, create buy some, digital banner ads. You can get into other types of social media advertising with a small buy. You can do native display ads, which are sort of ads that kind of appear on sites that you visit, that you read, that you visit regularly. These are all kinds of campaigns that you can start with. You don't have to spend a ton of money, but you can see if they work for you, and then build your program over a period of time. But start small, see if it works, and then you can expand. The other thing, Mona, is next year I might be doing something in digital marketing that doesn't even really exist right now. I mean, this is such an exciting, kind of crazy whirlwind program that we're working with that, things pop up all the time. I mean, several years ago, there was no advertising on, Facebook, for example, or, some of these other kind of platforms, but now they are taking advertising. There's other things, other opportunities that will be emerging that, may become part of our plan in the future and maybe part of somebody else's who's just getting their feet wet.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's why it's so exciting to be in digital marketing, because there's always something new. There's always a new something that you can look at. Like now TikTok's taken off. Maybe not for all of our audiences, but that didn't exist a year or two ago.
Right.
So yeah. Now I mentioned earlier that you're in the epicenter. I mean, you got hit first. You got hit, could argue, harder than anyone else. And I know the last 18 months have got to have been a blur for you, but what have you done different? What have you changed? What have you accelerated? What have you adjusted in your digital marketing strategies? How have you adapted?
Well, I think it's not just our digital marketing strategy that's changed the last 18 months of the pandemic. I think every area of every person in New York and certainly, around the country has changed. So because we were so early on in the beginning of this, New Rochelle, where the first case in New York is literally just a few miles down the road from us. We closed all in-person meetings in March of 2020. So we've not had any in-person meetings. So all of our prospect events that we do, for prospective clients come, those were all out. We have we have drama, music, all kinds of programs to get people to our community, because once you come to the Osborne's community, you're going to love it. It's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
It's spectacular acreage, just a few miles from New York City. So when that is part of your real selling and you can't get people there, that kind of really hits you in the gut. So as census, sort of was affected, because don't forget, nationally, senior living communities were hit, very hard. We had to find new ways of kind of reaching our customers. So we found that more of them are at home wanting to find something to do, but less of them have the ability to come and do it in person, if any of them. So we spent a lot of time, first of all, engaging and training our prospective customers, residents who are much older, because we are a retirement, senior living community, who never had a Zoom before. They never had a Zoom meeting. They don't know anything about, all they understand is email. So we had to really kind of create new ways of reaching them. So we did a lot more virtually. We created a series of virtual tours, whether, for each area of our business line, from independent living that really kind of dealt with the interests and the kinds of agenda of those who are independent living, what they're interested in, as well as, senior living, which sort of talks more to like the key family members, the children of somebody who might need an assisted living program. So we made a lot of changes. We did a lot of stuff online. We did a lot of, virtual tours. We created webinars, which served to provide people with, educational opportunities. And really kind of just had to shift gears a little bit. We continued with our digital programs because people were still searching, even though they were not able to come and visit. And as soon as restrictions became a little more light, we were able to then re-engage them because we had kept the conversation going throughout the pandemic, whether it be through our newsletters, our webinars, our drip campaigns, emails, and other things. So in fact, we just recently had one outdoors because we have a gorgeous, campus, and people felt really comfortable coming and spending time outdoors on our, gorgeous campus. So it was really kind of setting the stage for what's going to come next, and then kind of readjusting as the rules change, which happened throughout the pandemic.
Yeah, I know you. I remember it's got to have been a year and a half ago, you and I were talking, and you were doing some really innovative things with video, even back before Advantage Anywhere started offering video. Very proactive, like I said.
Yes, thank you.
I also noticed that you guys are doing a lot with social media. How has kind of that fit into your plan, and what would be your advice for our audience as far as, is it worth spending marketing dollars on social media?
Yes, that's a great question. I think social media is still a good buy. When you're looking at overall costs, our sort of geography, or the folks that are coming to us are people that are a little bit older. So we tend to do some of the social media platforms that are a little bit older, like Facebook. The average person on Facebook that joins this month is going to be about, between 60 and 70 years old. So the kids who started the kids at Harvard are no longer there. They've moved on. They're on, wherever they are on. But social media itself has a lot of different opportunities, but it's fairly inexpensive. So again, it's a good opportunity for someone to start. And if you don't even have like an agency or a graphics person, you can start by paying to have some of your posts boosted. As a way, and then you can go into actually creating some ads based on whatever product you're looking to bolster. But again, it's inexpensive and it's easy, and those are two things that you can do on a limited budget with a limited staff.
So yeah, you were telling me the other day about how you can just create a post and then choose to boost it, and you don't even have to have any marketing or ad design experience or anything like that.
Right. It's sort of like the basic. It's sort of like the entry level type thing where your post about whatever your event or something is gonna get, more people are going to see it based on the geography and the criteria that you have provided. So yeah, it's a great place to start. And then if it works out and you do have access to someone who can do some graphic arts and some other things for you, you can actually create ads as well that specifically are much more professional looking, and they people can scroll down and get your information.
Yeah, I know you're working with a digital marketing agency. What would be your advice in that area I know you've had great success, but
Yeah.
do you think people should try that? Do you think they should start off doing it alone? What do you think about using an agency to help you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, we use Sound Communications in New York City. I've been with them for many years. I brought them over to the Osborne when I came here a bunch of years ago. What I find is that there's a lot of, sometimes hocus pocus in digital marketing. You need a partner that's going to be really transparent with you. Sometimes, there's this term in advertising, glittering generalities. If you don't have the right partner, sometimes they talk a good game, but you're really not understanding what they're saying. You need a partner that's going to be very, very transparent about what they're providing to you, what they're going to do for you, and the analytics that are going to kind of show you what they've done for you. And so if you're going to go with an outside partner, do your work right up front. Find out, what kind of analytics they use, what their cost structure is. Sometimes there's some agency that you sort of tack on something to a pay-per-click campaign. There are some agencies that sort of just, add a percentage to your overall digital marketing bill, which is very transparent because you get it from Bing, you get it from Google. You just want to make sure you know what's going in. The other thing is, we're in a very gray area with some of these things, and you have to understand like who owns what. We had been with an agency at one point that kind of wasn't transparent. And then when we decided to sever that relationship, we were told that some of the information that I was requesting was, their sort of intellectual property. You get into a gray area. You have to understand who owns what. And if you decide that the relationship isn't working, what would you come out of it with? So it's just like when you're hiring somebody, for your staff. It's an in-depth process, and you have to make sure that you ask the right questions, because you do not want to get caught in a situation where you don't have control over your own data.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's actually where I was going to go next. I was going to ask you what are some of the questions you should ask. You mentioned who owns what, but you mentioned to me earlier about search terms. Who owns those? What other questions should people ask?
Yeah, I mean, I think search terms is a big one because you're creating, or you're helping them create the campaigns. And one of the things that you have to figure out is, how are people looking for my services? And that's how you come up with your search campaigns. Assisted living near me, assisted living New York City, assisted living Westchester County. You kind of put all these things together, and sometimes there's dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And if at some point you are going to leave your agency, you want to make sure that you can get all of them, and that you own them. So I think who owns what, the intellectual property behind it is important. I think how things are going to be reported is important. Are they going to provide you with, weekly, monthly, quarterly reports? And I always, kid around, with my agency and say, I don't care how many impressions we get. I really want to know how many conversions we get. You can show our ads, 50,000 times, but I don't care about who clicks on them, or who downloads, or who calls. That's really, for me, what I want. So I tell them, this is what I need to know. And they create a customized kind of solution for me that then I can share with my administration and my board of trustees, who also want to know, what are you spending this money on, and how do we measure success?
Yeah, that's really good advice. That's really good advice. So going back to the bigger picture of digital marketing, now people probably are wondering, what are some of the pitfalls or the challenges of digital marketing that people should try to avoid if possible, just in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is this kind of misconception that once you have a digital campaign, it's a set it and forget it kind of approach. We've done this, we've gotten our search terms, we know what our geography is, and there you go. That's just not the way. I mean, things change at lightning speed in digital marketing. And so you really need to have like an ongoing conversation with, your team or your agency about how things are doing. I look at things on a weekly basis. I do a report of telephone calls and conversions, whether they be form fills, clicks, telephone calls, through tracking numbers. We do a lot of different things that are sort of for looking at our return on investment. You have to kind of really understand what is going to be expected of you and your position by your administration, by your board, by any of the people who hold the purse strings. So I think that's important. Know that before you start a campaign. Don't set it and forget it. Sort of always be looking for the next new thing. I mean, if you're in digital marketing, you should be keeping your hand on the pulse of what's happening on, in new areas, because those might present a really good opportunity for you. So it's a constantly changing thing, and you have to kind of move fast with it. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're probably better off going to an agency that can sort of oversee it for you.
Mm-hmm. And I want to add to that too. I was talking to someone, it was about a week or so ago, and they were telling me a story of an organization. They were using a digital partner, it wasn't the one you use, and they were driving traffic. This particular organization was assisted living. Mm-hmm. And they worked with an agency. They had a bunch of ads running. They were getting, to your point, they were getting a lot of traffic, but they weren't getting a lot of conversions. Right. So they went back to the agency and said, what's going on? We're spending all this money and we're not getting the conversions. And the agency, unfortunately, said, well, we're driving the traffic. Right. Anyway, it turned out that as they looked into it, they found out that the marketing, the keywords, the content was really geared towards independent living, which they were not. They were assisted living. So therefore, they weren't getting the right traffic, the type of traffic that they needed. So those are some of the things you need to make sure. I mean, Richard and I were talking about this the other day. You know your business and you know your target market, and you can't just kind of defer that to the agency. That's something that you've got to own, and you've got to communicate so that the agency knows who you're trying to reach and can support you with that. So
yeah, going when you begin the campaigns, a good agency will work with you so that you're working on them together. So they know digital marketing, they know social media, they know a variety of different channels, but you're the expert in your field. An agency can't possibly know all the fields that they represent. So you have to really kind of be the leader in that. And so working together, if they had worked together from the beginning and the creation of the campaign, Mona, that probably wouldn't have happened, because they would have realized, hey, you know what, a lot of the terms that we're using are really independent terms, not really assisted terms.
Mm-hmm. I think that goes back to your whole set it and forget it concept too.
Right.
So that's actually kind of a good segue too. You've mentioned this a couple of times today, that qualified traffic that bounces without engagement is a problem. And I want to kind of address that for a minute. Google can tell you how many clicks you got, but what they can't tell you is what happens after the click through. Do you want to address that? And then I'd like to share something as well.
Sure. I mean, as we've said before, it's not just getting somebody to click on an ad. You really have to be very vigilant about, the data that you're collecting. How many clicks, how many downloads, what is your website traffic? And this kind of, this also gives you an opportunity to kind of change things if they are going wrong. But I think one of the other things that you have to look at is, what do we do when we do have this conversion, right? Okay, we got somebody to call, we got somebody to click, we have them, but what next? That's, I think, where another pitfall where people kind of drop off. So, we happen to work with Advantage, and that's how I know Mona. And our, as our CRM, and a lot of our information that comes through our digital programs, comes through our website, and then we create a lead with them that, regardless of what area they are, they'll fill out a form and it goes into our Advantage system. And I think one of the things that we do is, and Advantage has helped us with, is to sort of nurture that conversion, that lead, and bring them to, to the place where they'll be a qualified lead. So in my area, the sales cycle for somebody that's considering, independent living could be 3 months, 6 months, a year, or longer. So you want to keep them engaged. We have a drip campaign that we use Advantage for, to send out automated emails on topics that are important to people looking for, a senior living community. We have newsletters that we send out that we, provide, and we have one that we specialize in our folks that are through Advantage, like our independent folks, where we send that out monthly. We have a variety of different things, including, I know that I just had seen that Mona and your team, you've come up with a video email component where you can just, one of the sales folks can click on it and send somebody, their camera from their desktop or their laptop will say, "Hi, Mrs. Jones, so nice to see you today. We're really looking forward, for you coming on your tour. We'll see you next week." And then you send them a very personalized email. These are things that are just coming about, but at some point, people are going to expect this level of, of communication and personalization.
Yeah, that's really good. I wasn't going to mention the video mail, but I'll tell you what, I get very excited about that because you can't convey emotion or passion in an email. That's why so many times emails are misconstrued, because it's just words. But on video, you can see Richard right now. You can see his passion. You can hear the inflection in his voice. And when you can send your product, especially when you can't see them in person, you can send them an email or video mail and express emotion, and it brings you to life, even though you're not in front of them. So I'm a huge fan. In fact, I think I told you, Richard, the other day that I don't really send a whole lot of regular emails anymore. I do as many video emails as possible because there's a big wow factor, but there's also the ability to communicate.
Yep.
So I do want to share something. I know that there are some Advantage Anywhere clients on here, and I know some people are considering Advantage Anywhere, and I want to share this with you. This is just a dummy screenshot, but one of the things that we have been doing a lot lately is exactly what Richard mentioned, which is providing what we would call a digital hook. This example that you're looking at here in the bottom right-hand corner is an offer for a self-assessment. We've had incredible success with this. So this is a digital hook, and it can look like whatever. Here's some different examples of different clients in different industries with different offers where they can click on the hook. That takes them to a self-assessment that they fill out, which allows them to engage with them. So they're self-qualifying themselves. They're answering questions that make them think a little bit, maybe things that they don't want to deal with, especially in senior living, or they just, it hasn't occurred to them. So it makes them think. And then, like Richard said, the nurture stage is really the magic sauce. That's your opportunity to really engage them with educational information and build brand awareness and talk about what's special about your organization or your community, and get them to think about things and share testimonials and videos and all those things that we talked about so that you can convert them. And what we've done just to make that whole process easier, because these are parts and pieces that are all over the place, is we put them together in one protocol that we call the lead gen protocol. And if you would like to get some information about that, every Unfair Advantage, we try to offer some free resource. And this is our free resource for today. It's the lead gen protocol, the attract, engage, nurture, convert. If you go to our website, you'll see a button that looks like this on the screen. If you click through that, we will send you for free that attract, engage, nurture, convert protocol. So you can learn about it. If you want, you can do it on your own. If you'd like to use Advantage Anywhere, you can do that as well. So we encourage you to take advantage of that free resource. Sorry, it just comes naturally to me. So with that, I kind of want to wrap up. Richard, do you have any final words? And while you're doing that, I'm going to look through the questions.
No, I just think, I always say content is king. And so as you're rolling out a digital marketing campaign, please pay also special attention to your website or the content that you have available, so that people who are coming to you, once they get there, they find it as a valuable resource, because that's how really you convert, someone into a lead. Okay,
it looks like we do have a couple of questions here. Richard, someone asked about retargeting.
Oh.
And someone also asked about conquest campaigns. You want to take those one by one and kind of explain retargeting first?
Sure. So retargeting, an easy way of explaining that is you're kind of searching for a new shirt. You just dinner's ready and you leave and you click out of it, and then you come back 30 minutes later and there's an ad on your, the site that you're, reading news on of the shirt. So, it's basically, it's sort of it's following you around kind of and trying to engage you in something you've already shown interest in. So it's almost like a reminder type of ad, but that would be a retargeting ad.
I like retargeting, and I'll tell you why, because I think sometimes when you're browsing casually, you're not quite sure yet, but the retargeting reinforces and leverages frequency until you finally go, you know what, maybe I should dig deeper into that. I love retargeting.
Yeah. And the other conquesting campaign is, you have to know your own business, but you really have to know your competitors as well. So a conquesting campaign is when you create a campaign around those that are searching for your competitors. So you would use like some of your competitors' information in new ads for your own. So you want to make sure that if somebody is let's just use a very basic example. Let's say you want to find the latest McDonald's in the area. You search in the Google closest McDonald's. But you work for Burger King. You want a Burger King ad to come up so they could make that decision. Well, there's a Burger King right near here. Why don't we just do that? That's a conquesting campaign where you know that somebody is looking for something similar and you want them to see your ad because you want to win them over.
So I think a great example of that too, and besides the one you shared, is a kind of a David and Goliath scenario where you've got a very big competitor with a big brand awareness, and you maybe you're new to the area or new to the market or whatever that is. You want to leverage the searches that they're getting. And in the good old days, I say the good old days, a couple of years ago, Google wouldn't let you use a competitor's name in your search criteria. Now that's changed.
Yeah, I think what's helpful for the small guy is you don't have to do it, on a national level. You can do it at a very small level. You can just do it in a very small geography if you don't have the resources of a Goliath. So I think that, that's another way of people sort of getting their name out there when people don't know about them, but are searching for something very similar.
That's good. We did have one last question. You were talking about SEO and SEM. And the question is, and you kind of touched on this, but maybe you could explain a little bit more. Which one is more important for generating leads?
I mean, I think that they have to go hand in hand. I think the search engine marketing, if you want to lead, for someone to find you, you need to have a very, very strong pay-per-click program. However, if it's not as valuable for them to read information on your website, for example, they're going to click away and you're going to lose them. So really, it's got to be like this perfect marriage of SEM and SEO so that they work together. Otherwise, the program is not going to be a success. Yeah,
that's good. All right. Well, that's the end of our questions. I want to thank you, Richard. I just can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful that you have all these years of experience in your education and your just willingness to share it with all of us. I'm just really grateful for that. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Mona.
Yeah, and thank you to all of you guys as well for joining us today. If you have additional questions or you want to connect with Richard with a question or follow him on social media, or you want to reach out to me, our contact information is on the screen, and we would always love to hear from you. I think I speak for both of us, right, Richard?
Yes, absolutely. Love to chat with you if you have questions.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We are so grateful that you joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Unfair Advantage. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.